First, because the subject matter of what the man is standing for is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Secondly, because the subject matter is truly interdisciplinary. It's stretching. But third, because the human embodiment of the expression of the ideas, in a way, is symbolic of the problem the young think they are facing in this kind of a society, and which, in my opinion, they in fact are facing. Not only them, me.
But what is this condition?
The condition is the extreme professionalization and rigidification of institutions through which thought is supposed to occur. Extreme to the point where it begins to contaminate the fluidity and looseness, the freedom to think. Fluidity and looseness of ideas, of having ideas, and the freedom to think. And Velikovsky really wasn't taken on by the establishment simply because of what he was saying. He was also taken on by the establishment, in my opinion, because of his audacity in having such thoughts. The man... Yeah, go away, we got a sticker. Good security force here. The thing about Velikovsky is that the ideas are so much a part of the man, have been so hammered into his own personality by the controversy, that the ideas themselves are his life. And this man is a fighter for life. He is a fighter for life. He's not going to be bowled over if they all say no. He's not going to give up life. And the survival of the ideas now are so much wrapped up with the survival of the man. And that's what makes for the bravery that we spoke of earlier.
Emanuel Velikovsky was born June 10, 1895, in Vitebsk, Russia. After receiving a medical degree from the University of Moscow in 1921, he practiced for a time in Palestine. Following a period of study in Vienna, he specialized in psychoanalysis. In 1939, Velikovsky came to New York to pursue research on Freud's three heroes, Oedipus, Akhenaten, and Moses.
First idea that probably moved me into this direction, and which I followed since then, was the realization that during the Exodus occurred natural happenings, you can call catastrophes, which are reflected in the story of the plagues, in the story of the crossing of the sea, in the story of the rumbling mountain from which they heard the Decalogue. And the travel in the desert, the wandering in the desert, covered with ash, and some strange phenomena of food falling from the sky. If anything of this really happened, good chances would be that something would be also found in Egyptian story, in some Egyptian documents. In the books of Egyptology, you find nothing about a catastrophe in this during the long history of Egyptian people. So it was after a document of this nature that I went, and after several weeks I could establish that a certain document, a papyrus, written by a sage by name Ipuwer, a papyrus stored since early part of the 19th century in the University Museum or University Library of Leiden in Holland, is exactly a story of the plagues described by an Egyptian eyewitness. So here I had a synchronical point between two histories, biblical and Egyptian.
The papyrus of Ipuwer synchronized biblical and Egyptian events and led to a reconstruction of ancient history. Many questions debated for centuries found an answer. In the Bible, the identity of the beautiful Queen of Sheba at the court of Solomon was unknown. In Egyptian records, the land of Punt, visited by Queen Hatshepsut, could not be determined. In Velikovsky's reconstruction, it is clear that Punt is the land of Solomon and Hatshepsut is the Queen of Sheba. The biblical story of Joshua, with the sun standing still in Gibeon and the moon in the valley of Ajalon, presented another realization.
I was struck by the fact that 2 lines or 2 verses before the story of the sun and moon disturbed in their daily motion was the story of large stones that fell from the sky and destroyed more of the enemy soldiers than the sword of the Israelite. Well, this combination, because combination of stones and disturbance in rotation of the earth, the ancients could not know that it was the earth that was disturbed in rotation. They thought the moon and the sun. Made me immediately to follow the path toward east and west. And I found without great difficulty that in Western Hemisphere, which means here, on this continent, the story persists too. The story persists among the Redskins, it persisted among the Mayas, at the time when the continent was first conquered, the Mexico part of it, by the Spaniards, namely that the sun was rising just over the eastern horizon when it dropped back and came a little up again and stand there without motion, and all the forests burned. Again, the Redskin could not know about the heat resulting from disturbance in the Earth's rotation. So, of course, this would be not enough. You had to go to all civilization, to Japan, to China, to India, to Persia, to Babylonia, to Assyria, to Asia Minor, to Greece, to Rome, to Judea, to Egypt, to Mexico, to Peru, to Iceland, and for oral transmission even to East Indies. And the same story could have been found in all places, but differently told, so that it was no question of just borrowing from one nation by another. So this was the conclusion. The story of human memory of catastrophes that took place in historical times, but strangely, despite the fact that they were described in so many sources, as if non-existent for the scientific world.
According to the earlier records, the origin of the Great Flood is Saturn, which was referred to by the ancients as a water planet.
And we have information in Midrashic sources that 2 filaments, I wouldn't like to say comets, filaments